As we mark Good Friday, we stand in solidarity with those who are suffering the effects of COVID-19, with those whose symptoms are severe, with those who have lost family members, and we commend their deceased loved ones to God's eternal care. In our prayers also are the many healthcare and other essential workers helping us all to cope with this emergency. Today we remember another who suffered terribly. Today we remember Jesus of Nazareth. We remember his death amid the many deaths that have occurred in recent months because he sacrificed himself for us. Many brave people have risked their lives and even died in the service of others. Some time ago, I read a moving story of a young person willing to make a big sacrifice for his sister. The story was told by a hospital volunteer who was present. She tells the story like this. Many years ago, when I worked as a volunteer at a hospital, I got to know a little girl named Liz. Liz was suffering from a rare and serious disease. Her only chance of recovery appeared to be a blood transfusion from her 5-year-old brother, who had miraculously survived the same disease and had developed the antibodies needed to combat the illness. The doctor explained the situation to her little brother and asked if the little boy would be willing to give his blood to his sister. I saw him hesitate only for a moment before taking a deep breath and saying, "Yes, I'll do it if it will save her." As the transfusion progressed, he lay in bed next to his sister and smiled, as we all did, seeing the colour returning to her cheeks. Then his face grew pale and his smile faded. He looked up at the doctor and asked with a trembling voice, "Will I start to die right away?" Being young, the little boy had misunderstood the doctor. He thought he was going to have to give his sister all of his blood in order to save her. Most of us, on the other hand, will struggle with a tendency towards self-preservation, natural as it may be, which can actually get in the way of what is really best for us. The life of Jesus is a beacon that leads us away from selfishness towards a self-giving way of life. It was in the process of his own self-giving that he came into conflict with the authorities that had him executed. It's in the process of his own self-giving that he cries from the cross for the forgiveness of those who kill him. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." It is in the process of his own self-giving that from the cross he entrusts the well-being of his mother to the only one of the 12 who remained with him during his suffering. And it's from the cross that he promises a thief that today you will be with me in paradise. Forgiveness, compassion, and hope are just 3 of the many things signified by the cross of Christ. Forgiveness is such an important part of human health. Think of those conflicts in the world that never seem to cease, even down through the centuries. There may be many conflicts in our own lives, gnawing away at us because we either withhold or refuse to seek forgiveness. As someone once told me, withholding forgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It can be difficult to forget ourselves enough to have compassion. Henri Nouwen said it most clearly. Compassion is hard because it requires the inner disposition to go with others to the place where they are weak, vulnerable, lonely, and broken. But this is not our spontaneous response to suffering. What we desire most is to do away with suffering by fleeing from it or finding a quick cure for it. Imagine that in the most despairing of circumstances, that there could be any talk of paradise. Yet there is amongst Jesus and the thieves. Even in this shocking and agonizing scene, there is a glimmer of hope. Today you will be with me in paradise. It might be surprising how many great authors have noted the importance of hope in human well-being. The great theologian Thomas Aquinas tells us, "Hope is a divinely infused quality of the soul, whereby with certain trust we expect the good things of the life eternal, which are to be attained by the grace of God." Words from the cross, words of forgiveness, compassion, and hope tell us of the significance of the life and death of Jesus. Amen.